How's it going, guys? Thank you for watching another episode of Short Guy Drinks Whiskey. Before moving on to whiskey reviews here in 2021, I want to wrap up and summarize everything we tasted in 2020 and give you my favorite Irish whiskeys, scotches, and bourbons. Let's get started. Now, last year I didn't review any new Irish whiskeys, and that's partly because of this guy right here. Redbreast 12, I'm just lacking motivation to go out there and try something new. Now, I've had like Green Spot and Jameson and things like that. But guys, this Redbreast 12 is so creamy. It's so smooth. It's almost like you can chew on it. It just lasts forever. If you haven't tried Redbreast 12, you gotta check it out. Alright, moving on to scotches we tried last year. We had the Johnnie Walker Black and Red Label Macallan 12 single cask and double cask. We had the Chivas 12, the Ardbeg Uigeadail, and then we also had the Dewar's White Label. Alright, so my favorite out of that scotch grouping was the Macallan 12 single cask. I did enjoy the double cask, but I thought that the Macallan 12 single cask tasted crisper, was more vibrant, and overall I think the finish was a lot better. However, even though that was my favorite as far as taste goes, would I go out and buy it? Probably not, because when I looked at how much it costs in the stores, it's almost $15 to $20 more than something that would taste as good. So would I go out and buy it? Probably not. But does it taste good? Absolutely. Now, the most interesting out of that group, of course, was the Ardbeg Uigeadail. The smoky peat that I got out of there was very strange. I got a lot of like barbecue, bacony taste from that smoke, which is not normal for scotches, and I really enjoyed it. However, as much as I enjoyed the flavor that the Uigeadail had, I will say this. The finish of that smokiness stays in your mouth for a very long time. In fact, so long, I left the glass unwashed on my kitchen counter. I left for the day, came back home at night. When I opened up my kitchen door, all I could smell was like this burnt plastic Band-Aid, and I couldn't figure out where the smell was coming from, but I kind of zeroed in to the glass, and it was empty, and it still had that strong smoky peat flavor, which is weird. When it was further away, it smelled like smoky plastic Band-Aid, but then when you got your nose into the empty glass, it smelled like that bacon. It's really crazy. So if you don't like smoke, maybe you stay away from it. And finally, moving on to the budget scotches, we had both the Johnnie Walker Red and Black Label and the Dewar's White Label. The best bang for your buck for taste is going to be the Johnnie Walker Black Label. Yeah, it's got a little bit of smoke in there, but it's not too intense. But you get a little bit more kick in it versus the Dewar's and the Johnnie Walker Red Label. So I think it's worth paying a little bit more money for the Johnnie Walker Black Label. Moving on to the bourbons, and keeping in mind that my expectations and my standards for bourbons are pretty high. And that is because my first real whiskey experience that was non-college, right? Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Crown, was with Van Winkle Special Reserve 12. My friend Jeff one year came down for New Year's Eve, and he was like, here, drink this. And you know, for a non-whiskey drinker to have an experience like that and that kind of flavor in your mouth, the expectations are going to be high. And of course, the more bourbons you drink, you start to figure out, yeah, there are some really tasty bourbons out there that maybe not taste like Van Winkle, but are as good. So here's a quick list of the bourbons we tried. We had two wheaters on the list. We had Larceny and Maker's Mark. We had Four Roses, Bullet Rye. We tried Three Crowns. There was a Crown Rye, Reserve, and Black. Then we went for the standard Jack Daniels Rye, Knob Creek, Jim Beam White Label, Early Times, and Evan Williams, and then we finished it off with some Wild Turkey 101. All right, so here are some of the things that I look for in a bourbon. Number one is the texture. I don't want it to be watery. I like the finish to last a long time. I don't like it to feel too oily. I don't like spikes. Like, I don't want the alcohol to smack me in the face. But at the same time, I don't want it to be like well-rounded and flat like this. I still want a nice rounded edge, but not flat like this. So I don't mind if it's a little bit like this. I don't mind if it's a little bit like this. But I don't want something that goes like this, because that normally will tell you that it's a watery type of bourbon. Of course, I'm looking for that classic bourbon profile, right? Butterscotch, caramel, creamy. And I like a little bit of alcoholic burn just to kind of warm me up. I like that feeling down in the chest. Now, the bourbon that I tried that met all of those expectations last year was Four Roses. Now, I'm not too sure which of the recipes I have from Four Roses, but the main question is, would I go out and buy an entire bottle? And the answer is 100% yes. It's got that classic bourbon profile with that butterscotch and the caramel, right amount of spiciness from the rye, well, depending on which recipe you get, because some are heavier on the rye. And I just remember it lasting a very long time in the mouth and just warming my chest. It's a great bourbon. The most interesting bourbon I tried was the Wild Turkey 101. I would have to say that it tasted a little bit like Christmas. Big maple, big vanilla, and a little bit of spicy cinnamon. If you haven't tried Wild Turkey 101, it's a great value. And lastly, moving on to the budget bottom of shelf bourbons, if I had to choose between Evan Williams and Early Times, it would 1000% be Evan Williams. The thing about Early Times is that they're aged in used bourbon barrels, so you don't get that intensity that the Evan Williams Black Label has. So if you're going to a party and you want to buy a big jug of budget bourbon, go with Evan Williams. Well, alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the Short Guy Drinks Whiskey 2020 whiskey review. Remember to come back and check out my next video because we're going to have a closer look at this guy right here. Ooh, it's going to be a great year. Guys, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.